Okay, it seems that we've got the time. Ibtisam or Zineb, just can you confirm that you can hear me well and you can see my screen, please?
Yes, your voice is crystal clear and we can see the screen too. So I think we can start now. So the virtual stage is yours, you and Zineb.
Actually, at this very moment, it's mine only.
Okay.
Yes. Everyone, thank you very much for having taken the time to join today's 10th series of our webinar related to and come back to the English language teachers of Algeria. Today's topic is going to be about the SMART model. And I'm absolutely sure that most of you have gotten information about what the SMART in action or what the SMART model is exactly, and you even might be working with it. So at the very beginning, I would like to give a brief introduction about today's webinar. So what we are going to cover at all. The SMART, as its mnemonic or as its acronym, as it's called in very ways, is going to focus on exactly some best practices we as teachers are supposed to work with, particularly when we are when we are setting our objectives, when we are setting our goals, when we are setting any of our aims as a particular context, whether as a teacher, whether as working with the curriculum, whether as setting your certain goals for sequences of your syllabus. Generally, let's say in worldwide known stages, the SMART model is actually a mnemonic, or it's an acronym, which gives a criteria to guide the setting of an objective. This is all known. For example, when you have a project or you've got some employee performance and you're a manager, for example, you're a director, you're a teacher, you are going to put some personal development letters in order to generally staticize the specificity of those objectives. So today altogether, we would at the very beginning need to understand some main points related to the part here, which is on the right side. So you have why, how, and what. Well, the reason of using the SMART goal is just to put or to set some framework boundaries to define your steps, to define your actions you need to take, to set some resources and the necessary milestones you're going to do and indicate in order to track your progress along the way. And if you use the SMART model, you are more likely to achieve your goals efficiently and more effectively. This is a reason, and this is kind of the way behind why we do use a SMART model, being a teacher, in order to set our objectives and at the same time a way to track our progress. How do we use it? This is actually one of the things we're going to check along with the coming slides, particularly the part which Zineb is going to present. What does the SMART in action, or what does the SMART model cover generally? The SMART model covers really lots of aspects. It covers lots of funny frameworks that go along with your processes, that go along with your particularity. Why do you want to use the SMART model? But we have to, or let me just rephrase it, say we need to put a high focus over who and to whom. So where do we apply, or to whom do we apply the SMART model? There should be, most of the times in applying this model, two parties. The first party, keeping the context of teaching, is the teacher. The second party, keeping the context of learning, are the learners. So you as a teacher, whatever you need to use, you just want to include the SMART in action into your progress, tracking the frameworks of the things you're going to do. You are the first party, then those objectives to whom they're going to be applying. coming to the words compass. So generally, I most of the times really like to make people understand what is behind the compass, what is behind that word particularly, because as you see here in this slide, maybe these things you're working with in most of the cases, in very, very often, and you get confronted with, but you just might be confused in order to make a difference with them. Yeah, we've got aims, we've got goals, we've got objectives. These are very important to help us achieve our goals, to help us achieve or make kind of a successful task. They are very interrelated words. They are very combined. They are very important in order to to get them distinguished one between another. And they just represent a notion of understanding what I'm supposed to do as a teacher. Am I supposed to set a goal for my students? Am I supposed to set an aim? Or I am supposed to set an objective? So the thing here is that actually, if you get to make the difference, or if you get to understand what is the difference between these two, or these three notions, or these three terms, you will be more likely able to focus on exactly what you are tending to do, or what you are exactly supposed to do in a very smart way. A goal is generally specific. Let me just start from number 1 to number 2 to number 3. Goals in general, they are kind of specific statements, and they've got a general intent. When, for example, you're at school and you would like to increase the success rate for your students, supposing you're at high school and you would like to increase the success rate of your baccalaureate exam exposed students, so you got to make a goal to increase that success rate by 3% within 1 year. So there is kind of a frame time, there is kind of a time frame, there is kind of a percentage you're going to set in that goal, but it says as a specific assessment or a specific statement, if I may say, which means that you put a percentage, as we mentioned in the example, then later on you mention the broad, which is going to cover the time frame. You see, it's just specific to things. I don't need to go into very much details into that. But when it comes to aim, when we look at it, it is the desired outcome, the very, very general thing we would like to attain, we'd like to achieve by the end of every step we are going to do, which means that they tend to be kind of more vague because they most of the times they refer to the end results. And while they are general in nature, they are also bigger than objective. They are bigger than goals. And in comparison to the two first ones that I've mentioned, we've got objectives. So when it comes to objectives here, they are active. They are just actions which are very, very much needed one by one in order to achieve a certain task, in order to achieve a certain destinations. And most of the times, these objectives are very specific and measurable, which means that we cannot put an objective which is not measurable because we won't be able to be tracking it, particularly when we are dealing with learners. And as I said, one very specific thing regarding objectives, just to understand the difference between these three concepts, is that they are very active and we need to use very, very strong verbs. We cannot, for example, say or just give any verb that is going to describe one of our objectives. So at this point, most of them are action verbs that are observable and better to communicate the intent of what is going to be attended. For example, planning, writing, conducting, producing, whatever, if I may say, applying, reciting, revising. So these kind of action verbs really, which are going to initiate or initiate at a certain time and avoid you to include a general and a vague cycle of understanding one thing. Before I pass to something else, does any one of you have got a question? Any one of you has a question to ask about these three concepts?
Sorry, Hicham, just if you don't mind, I just want to remind the participants not to take screenshots of the slides, because we are going to share the presentation by the end of the webinar, inshallah. And not to text in the chat box, but if you have a question or you want to answer a question, you just need to unmute the mic and ask your question.
Okay, so let me be the person asking the question. Let me be the person who asks the question directly. Any one of you, can answer. If you don't want, certainly I can give a explanation about that. Where do you see the difference exactly between goal and aim? So from a teaching perspective or from a learning perspective, how can we really say that aim and goal differ? From any perspective, you think? Or in other words, what is the real difference between goal and aim?
Okay, go ahead, guys. I'm inviting you to answer the question. Maybe Sliman or Rahil or any one of you can answer the question.
Hello?
Please go ahead. Yes, we do hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
yes, we do.
We do.
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting us on this webinar. I think it's a nice space for us to get a little bit out of this, staying home and things like that. So for your question, I think that the goal can be personal. Saying that it is a specific statement of intent, like increasing success rate by 3% within a year. So this goal, it can be something personal. But for the aim, it's something that can be set at the very beginning, maybe of the year. And it's a bit general. It can be mentioned, as you said, it's the purpose or the desired outcome, and it's bigger than the objective or the goal. So it's something that can be specified at the beginning of the year. Like by the end of the year, I would like my students to be able to write or speak or do something. Hello? Am I on?
Absolutely, yes, I heard you. Thank you very much for the details.
Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely right. Anyone else, please? Okay, you're absolutely right. I don't know your name, the person who answered the question, but thank you for the important details you've given. I would just give very two kind of little examples for you to understand generally how do we apply an aim, how do we set a goal. So supposing you are a supervisor, kind of a supervisor of an English language subject at a high school, at a middle school, a kindergarten, whatever you are in, and you are working to set up a plan so that by the end of the year, students will increase their kind of their knowledge of English, generally talking. Yeah, so you would like to develop the English language speaking TOEFL by the end of the year in your school. This is an aim. But if you come to set a goal, at this very moment, since it is a specific statement, you are going to set goals for that aim. So an aim is very general and it can be only one for a single task. That goals, they can be many for a specific aim, which means that supposing you're working with a syllabus, you have a goal for every sequence, or you have a goal for every unity you are working with. This is it. And generally, or let's say when it comes to learning, talking about learning, the difference between the aims and the objectives, this very state, the aims are teacher-centered, which means that by the end of the year, saying that teachers are going to be able to teach a single matter, to teach a single subject, a single major related to English language teaching, using specific resources or using a new methodology, which is competency-based approach, which is direct method, which is indirect method, which is TBL, whatever the method is. And at the same time, the learning outcomes or the objectives are the learners. And at this very stage, the objectives that they just focus directly on the learners. So they just focus directly on the people who are going to receive those the knowledge, who are going to receive the activities, who are going to receive kind of the psyche of any action we are going or task we are going to do over them. But as I said, when it comes to goal and aim, the only difference for them is that the aim is general and the goal is related to the aim, which means that one aim can have several goals, and one goal can have several objectives. This is just to make it clear. Anyone has got a question before I pass to the other slide, please?
Hello, do you hear me?
Absolutely. Go ahead. What's your name?
Hello, my name is Sliman, and thank you very much for inviting me to this webinar. Thank you, Ibtisam.
You're welcome, Sliman. Okay, go ahead,
Thank
please.
you. So I think that the difference between goal and aim is like, for example, the goal is what is the thing that I want to achieve, and the aim is why do I need to achieve this thing. For example, the goal, as Hicham said, the goal is to increase the success by 3%, for example. But the aim is why do I need or why do I want to increase it? For example, the reason I will say, for example, to improve the ranking in the district, for example. Let's say my score is ranked 15, for example, in the wilaya. I will improve it to be ranked among the top 5, for example. I think this is it.
Absolutely, I love it. That's exactly, they've given kind of a very relative and real life example. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hicham. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Anyone else would like to give another example or would like to add something about these three notions? Hello, I see that someone wants to speak. I just hear Nico. Hello, go ahead. What's your name? Hello, what's your name?
I'm Jamal. Thanks for inviting me for this webinar. I want to say something about the goal. The goal, in my opinion, is too general. It's related to the whole sequence or unit. However, objective is too specific. That's it, I think.
You are right. That's absolutely. Yeah. You've given a very direct answer. Yeah, goals are a little bit general, and there are some kind of statemently specific to a sequence, statemently specific to a part of a project, a part of the people. While objectives are very much kind of the needed actions, the needed materials, the needed procedures and objectives in order to be able to achieve one of the goals which are related to a general aim.
But I face some problems when I'm going to write my objective on my papers. How we can choose the words when writing our objective?
How we can choose the words?
Yes, right? Yes. When I'm going to write my objective, there are specific words that are used to write my objective, or
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, when it comes to objectives, that's what I mentioned a while ago. It's very important for us to make sure that we use strong kind of wording. Yeah, the wording is the most important. When I say wording, it's not just it's not something you write any word you want. It's not something you write any action that you would like to achieve. But these words or these verbs, they need to be active and strong ones. For example, particularly, we need to focus on action verbs, particularly the verbs which are observable, which are better to communicate the intent, or it's better to communicate the objective, and at the same time, they facilitate for the process of achieving things you are attempting to. I give you an example. Some words, as I've mentioned, like planify or plan, write, conduct. For example, produce, apply, recite, revise and develop, contrasting, installing. So these words, I can even share it with you later on Skype if you would like. You could just send me a direct message on the chat and I can respond to you. But as I said, we need to avoid generalities. We need to avoid objective statements and in infinitives that are going to make us understand vaguely things. And we need really to enjoy any verb we are going to write, since we are going to put it in a very specific way that we believe we are going to achieve it. So generally the words, let's just to sum it up for you, the words need to be not only active but also measurable. So you are not going to put any action verb, but you're going to put a verb that you really can achieve.
Okay, thanks. That's clear. Thank you.
Sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
Hicham. I just want to remind the participants to mute the microphone after asking the questions because it's creating an echo. Okay, please.
That's okay. I'm doing it myself. If anyone forgets, I'm just going to mute them. Well, coming now just to the framework directly about what does the SMART model, what does the SMART acronym mean normally. So the S stands for specific, the M stands for measurable, the A stands for achievable, the R stands for relevant, and the T stands for time bound. So we are going to give kind of examples really of a one-to-one each of the framework types over here. When talking about the specificity, or let's say being specific exactly when you are going to set one of your goals, we know that it helps you to remember to write down the things you really want to do using those action verbs as I mentioned before. But here when I say specific, it means what needs to be accomplished. This is the question you need to ask very easily. What I need to accomplish? Or who or what team is responsible for completing this? So if I ask who is going to be responsible, of course, me as a teacher, and to whom this is going to be applied is for the teacher, for the students, I'm sorry. And later on, you need to ask what steps do I have to take? So if you see the first example, for example, to say exactly what you tend to do. If you say generally, I want to lose weight, this is not specific because you just want to get rid of some fat you've got over your body. But if you really say, I want to lose 4 kilos, and this is a specific goal. Not going into details, passing into measurable directly. Measurable means it's the thing that you really believe doable. You cannot put something you cannot reach. Yeah. So a target needs to be exactly what is going to explain for you the success route. If you say, for example, I want to be able to run 800 meters faster, this is this is not very much measurable. But if you say, I want to run 800 meters in 2.5 minutes, this is absolutely measurable because you've put a measurement, you've put kind of a scope of your measurements in a very specified time frame, which means that you measured that you're able to do 800 meters in 2.5 minutes, and the same for your lessons, the same for your objective. Yeah, I would like to achieve, for example, 20% of attention or students' attention within the first 15 minutes of my lesson. This is something measurable. But you cannot say that I can put, I don't know, 100% attention of my students by the very beginning of the first minutes of my class, or the first 5 minutes, which is very likely impossible. Coming to achievable, in most of our objectives or most of our targets, really, we need to make sure that we can do something, we can achieve them. So as I said, we cannot set something we are not able to do. We need to step remarks, and we need to understand that within the practicality, we really need to understand whether we are able to do or to reach something like that or no. As you see the example here, I'm going to earn £3,000 by next week, which is not achievable unless you are going to be robbing banks. But if you say something, I'm going to accomplish a particular diploma, and you're setting the right needs, the right tools, the right materials, the right learning type is over that. This is absolutely something achievable and normally to be likely discussed. Relevant. Talking about relevancy, this is a very famous word in English language teaching, SMART. Is that really what you're going to do, going to give kind of a benefit? If I want to get fit, for example, I'm not going to do just watching football matches, but at the same time, I'm going to start playing football, I'm going to start running, going to the gym, and things like this. So we're talking about the relevancy of your objective really needs to be focused on exactly kind of a logical thinking type which is related to this objective. You are not to put something illogical. If you say, I want to become a very famous football player and you are 38 years old, this is absolutely not something relevant. It hasn't come to the mind normally. And all of the four above mentioned ones are related to the time. So specificity, measurement, achievability, relevancy, they are all kind of combined or tied by one thing, which is the time. If there is not a timely manner in setting our goals, in setting our objectives, that would be a little bit hard to achieve. For example, as you see the example written on the page, if I don't know how much time I have, I don't know when to take an action. So really need to specify the time. For example, if you're setting an objective of your lesson, some of kind of the initial phase, the middle phase, and the last phase, and each of the phases needs to have kind of 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you need to specify. And in the case you do not specify, that case, you would not be able to be tracking the progress of your objective. So you would do objectives, yes, but you are not sure that you're going to achieve them on time or late. The example is here is kind of, I want to be able to run 800 meters in 2 minutes by August the 5th this year, which means I have a very timely manner targeted objectives. I specify the time, I specify the percentage, I specify the frame of my time, which is this year. And at this case, I would understand that if this year I will not, I mean, certainly if this year I am not able to make 800 meters in 2.5 minutes, that means that I failed and I did not reach my objective. I've really go kind of very kind of deeply not into these framework sizes, since got more important things, but this is just really for you to understand what does every framework go, what does every framework letter mean in the SMART model or in the SMART in action model. Anyone has got a question or just maybe has something different than what I have for you here on the screen? Okay, if no one of you has got a question, I'm just going to pass my word to Zineb to carry on with one other slide over this presentation. The stage is yours, Zineb, but the stage is online.
Hi, can you hear me?
Absolutely. What's your name? Go ahead.
I'm Mr. Jamal. I'm just talking. Actually, I have two questions. The first one concerning the measurable. How can I measure my objective? And the second one related to relevant. Relevant means materials or what? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I do hear you. So let's start with the first one.
Sorry, the last question is related to the time. I always find the problem in time especially with the last task, the communicative task. I don't find really time to finish my task. So how can I do for this problem? And thanks.
Okay, let me go one by one. So when it comes to measurements or measurable, it means that you need to say exactly what you need to do in order to succeed, which means that you need to measure the success. For example, if we're talking about a teacher who is going to set an objectives of learning a grammar rule, for example, using must and have, mustn't and whatever model, let's say must and have to. If we talk about this, the teacher needs to measure the success of teaching that lessons over his students in a very timely or in a very specific frame. Are you really able to teach a model of a grammar in 60 minutes lesson? This is the question you need to ask at the very beginning. Jamal, are you really able to teach a grammar lesson in 60 minutes or no?
Suitable. It's not enough for me.
Well, we know it's not enough. For you and for everyone, it's not enough. I used to teach with 90 minutes, but it was never enough for me.
60 minutes, I think it's not enough for teaching grammar, because in grammar, we are dealing with the three types of grammar. We have affirmative, negative, and interrogative questions with a lot of tasks and so. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. Listen to me. I'm really not going to discuss any of the policy-related things to the institution, to the timing. But as I said, it's a little bit hard for you or for me as well to say that, yes, I am able to teach within 60 minutes. But there are really things which are up the scope directly. We don't need to go to the exceptions. We need to go exactly to what is doable, to what is applicable. Just for you to explain the measurable item meaning, it means that you are just going to compare. It's kind of a calculation. The objective you have, which is teaching a grammar model within the students, which is actually the actual material, the who or to whom, and later on, the success. Are you able really to make it so by the end of that lesson, students will be able to absorb a certain knowledge you've provided to them or not? If not, in that specific time, which we said 60 minutes, then your goal is a little bit not measurable. So which means that we understand that 60 minutes is not enough and it should be 90 minutes. But unfortunately, this is a policy-related thing. It depends on the schools, it depends on the country. For example, we do have 45 minutes here in the Czech Republic. In the UK, you've got 90 minutes, but with 3 breaks. In Turkey, we used to have 45 minutes twice with 10 minutes break. And in Georgia, they've got kind of 60 minutes, then 15 minutes break, then later on 30 minutes. And it really depends on the country. It really depends on the policy of any institution. When it comes to relevancy, the relevancy, it means that the goal or the objective you want to set exactly should have relevance, should be relevant to what you want to achieve. What I'm going to do really needs to help me to get what I want. This is the question, ask this. So I want that my students would sound fluent while using the present continuous. So I just need to make sure that I have the needs, I have the relevancy, I have all the materials they've got in order to achieve that goal. If I don't have those materials, then I'm not going to achieve it. Same for being a football player example. And you're right. What you said, you mentioned, that's the materials in the context, in the very specific context. And the time bound, this is actually a very big question. I really, as I told you, I've been teaching 90 minutes and it was never enough for me. I all the time used to make overtime for my students when I was teaching at a primary school. And I all the time did not finish my lessons. I all the time was not able sometimes to achieve my objectives just because of the time. This is a little bit tricky, but really talking about logical objectives, talking about very specific things related to inner lessons, like, for example, a part of a lesson, a part of a speaking lesson, a listening lesson. This very time, really, time bounding is a little bit achievable. Time bounding is a little bit logical and doable for a teacher. Jamal, I hope I've answered your questions. Jamal, do you hear me?
Yes. Thank you, teacher. It's clear. It's clear. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
And if you really want to discuss it in details, just shoot me a message on Skype, and we can really have a a discussion about that, since it's an endless topic, really. Thank you very much for your question.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for explanation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Zineb, it's back to you. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you confirm whether my voice is clear or not, please?
Well, for the moment, yes.
Zineb. It's crystal clear. Thank you. Relating to what Hicham has already presented, we can deduce that goals are fundamentally related to performance and productivity. And I think that the best way to demonstrate the notion of goal or SMART goal setting is the following statement. If you don't know where you are going, how are you going to know when you get there? In the LT context, a kind of broadest vision, the broadest vision, I mean here the aim, as regarded as a vision that is technically aims as clarified by Hicham a few minutes ago. So we think it as a micro picture to a micro, that is to say, in other words, from general to specific. We start by...
That's great. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. The example you have mentioned is really demonstrating how the hope and effect of the learning, describing what you should change here. You want to make your learners better in the writing skills, and you break down your goal into learning objectives and sub-objectives through lessons, and you reach through indicators, the actual measurements, whether you are achieving what you want to be achieving. And here it is demonstrated through the learner's production, performances, and so on and so forth. Thank you. Here, we have a broad goal. I would like my young learners to feel motivated in English. This is considered as a broad goal. What is missing from this goal? Do you think that it is not a broad statement, not clear purpose, no clear expected effects, not specific, or do you think that it is just good the way it is? Is my question clear? Can anybody confirm?
I'm sorry, but no. I didn't get the question.
Hi.
Yes.
I'm from
yes.
I'm from Yelma. Do you hear me?
Welcome. Yes, absolutely.
Yes. I want you to clarify more. I haven't well understood your question.
Okay, I have here, we have a goal presented on the slide, sorry. It is a broad goal, considered as a broad goal. I would like my young learners to feel motivated in English. What do you think of this goal? What is missing to make it smarter? What do you think? Or do you think that it is good the way it is? In other words, do you think that it is a broad statement?
Very much, yes. Yes, sure.
Thank you, Hicham.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it is very broad. I think feeling motivation is something broad. You can break it into feeling motivation through teaching, maybe, or through some games, maybe through encouraging them to listen to some songs, maybe, to make it more specific, I mean.
Yeah. Yes, I do agree. Yes, here I wanted to spot the light on the fact that how you can check your goals, whether they are smart or no, by seeing whether the statement, if it is a broad statement, that's it's okay. But here, no clear purpose is highlighted. Also, the expected or the learning outcomes are not really demonstrated. The component of it on this goal, it is not specific. And now let's see another SMART goal. Hicham, if you can move to the next slide, please. Let's consider.
Sorry, Zineb.
Okay. Yes.
I just wanted to say that the girl that you were showing a few seconds, it was a teacher-centered.
Yes, it was like a broad aim. It's you can even teacher centered. Here you can just add something. It's a teacher centered, but if it is designed for a learning agenda, it should be more clarified, more specific, narrowed down to a specific one or to smart one, just to can break it down into learning situation, objectives, and tasks, communicative tasks to fulfill unintended learning outcomes. Here, let's see the model of SMART goal provided by Hicham. I will prepare my class of young learners for the PT Young Learners exam and will measure their progress with practice papers. I will use textbook and my own materials to help prepare them with the aim of taking the exam in June next year. Here we are focusing on the students' use of real practical English in age-appropriate and enjoyable contexts of all situations. Let's see the criteria of the SMART model here, and we can say that we will prepare my learners for level 1, 2, 3, and 4. The second criteria is how to measure the learner's progress. This would be carried out through practice papers where results or outcomes are recorded for each level to see the progress of your learners. It can be done or carried out through motivational sheets or grading sheets, whatever. As we mentioned previously, achieving the intended outcomes is a key concept in the SMART model. So this step is realized via the 4 practice tests. The student will have a writing test, for example, which varies by level from a simple gap fill exercise to free production that may be designed to test their ability to their understanding or produce a coherent story, for example, on a topic related to their interests. As far as relevance is concerned, the content should be interesting for the learners and boost their creativity as well as imagination. In addition to that, we have to take into consideration the age. The age here, we are dealing with 12 years old learners, and taking into consideration the proficiency level and the speed of learning, this goal should be time-bound, that is to say they will be ready to take the exam in June next year. Here, we want to say, well, when will you accomplish your goal? Following this example provided on the slide, can anybody of you provide us an example from his experience for a SMART goal, and identify the SMART criteria within his goal and in his teaching? Here, I mean providing a SMART goal, and you identify the specific, measurable, achievable, relevant items in your goals. from the teaching context you are in. Anyone to share something or to say something or add something concerning this slide, please? I think there is no one to add something. I think that time is running. And I just going to provide you with an example from the Algerian teaching context. And let's take the following goals as an example. It's related for year 4 from middle school, sequence 3, the third term. By the end of the sequence 3, my learners will be able to produce oral or written messages, texts of argumentative type using visual or oral support to debate important issues related to culture, community, and citizenship. This could be, we can analyze or to find out the question, answer the question whether it is specific. Here I will prepare to write argumentative text. Here I highlight the argumentative discourse, cultural issues and citizenship. Measurable here, to measure, you can provide your learners with the guided, semi-guided, and free tasks to check their understanding of the learned points and record their performance to measure their progress. To achieve, you can, as we mentioned before, you will break down the goal into learning objective and subject objective to reach the intended goal in the integration phase, as it is known as I learn to integrate. The relevance here, we have to respect the theme of the sequence and related to cultural issues and citizenship, and the situation should be appropriate for the level of the learners and their real life context, interests and needs, and so on and so forth. This should be carried out in about 14 hours. This is how the located time to accomplish this goal. If you have nothing else to add, you can you can move to the next slide, Hicham. Thank you.
Excuse me, before you move, your example looks like, the example you provided looks like a learning objective of a whole sequence. So how can you relate that to a goal? This one looks like a learning objective of a whole sequence.
Exactly.
I can't see how you relate it to a goal. Provided that you said before that a goal is something specific, and specific statement of intention. Intention, I put 2 lines under intention, and it can be related to the teacher intention. I don't know how you related this to a goal. Thank you for clarifying that.
Okay, I just got your point. Yes, if you listen to, I mentioned before that this goal is related to the third term. So this is as goal as a teacher's goal, teacher-centered goal for the third term. In the third term, in the 4th year, we have this community and citizenship. So you can provide in the learning, you can provide this goal, a SMART goal for your sequence, for whole sequence. And the goal here, it is a broad why, because you are going to break it down into different lessons. So to reach the argumentative, to have the argumentative phase and to have this argumentative scores, you will find you have lessons about how to give advice, how to give an opinion, how all these are lessons, how to using the conditional type to defend one's opinion, and many other lessons that could be follows to reach the last intended, which is the argumentative discourse. This is the intended outcomes by the end of sequence 3 in full-time. Do you agree?
Sorry, Zineb, I would like
Thank
to
you.
add something.
Yes. Okay. Go ahead.
If we relate the goal that you have already mentioned, if we relate it to the definitions that were mentioned by Hicham in the previous slide, it is a goal. Why? Because it is still general. So when we go or we break it down, as you said, it becomes a learning objective. So here, what you gave is still general. It's not specific, so it's not an objective. It is a goal. Thank you.
Yes. Do you agree? I don't remember the participant who asked the question. Do you agree about what Ibtisam and I have just clarified?
Okay, I got you.
Okay. So
Seems there
Hicham,
is an agreement over here. Seems that 3 people agreed, all of us over time. Yes, thank you, Zineb. Thank you, Najat. Thank you, Ibtisam, for your intervention. We don't have a very much time, so I'm not going to go into very deep details and so on. I would like really just to give a few hints about how all what you've spoken, you Najat, you Jamal, Ibtisam, Zineb, what she has explained, what she provided as examples, they are all precious, they are all efficient, they are all amazing. They're all going to help us do whatever task we want to accomplish, by a specific term of time. But the most important thing is that how are we going to apply those lovely ideas you've shared, all of you guys? This is one of the questions I most of the time really to ask myself on what I am going to do, or what are the most important things I need to keep in mind most of the times so that I can reach my goals. Here's the first thing, here's how it goes. I need to decide the scope. So deciding the scope really means that where do I have to apply, or what do I want to do, which part of my job, what do I to increase, what do I want to add kind of in terms of extensity of the performance, what do I want to develop. For example, if I have a special needs class, or I have got, I don't know, a mature class, a very large-sized class, these things. So this is one of the things really I advise you guys, before you ever set a goal, before you ever set an aim, before you ever set an objective, make sure that you understand why, or what are you going to do once you achieve those objectives. So you need to decide the scope as part of your job. And later on, it achieves you and it takes you over to where do you want to start? So the start point and the end point. Because most of the teachers, I myself used to experience this. When I wanted to set a goal, I start from the middle, I start from the end, I don't have a plan. So starting point and end point are very important tasks over setting an objective, setting a goal. We need to start by thinking for the whole job as a broad plan, as a broad area directly. Then later on, you need to start thinking of the responsibilities and you need to relate every single objective to its goal, and every single goal needs to be related to its aim. So that's the reason you need really to focus exactly on the start point, because if you start from the middle, you could potentially have lost lots of things, and your objectives might be accomplished, but not very efficiently or effectively as you already expected it, as you set in your plan. Then later on, the write and the check-in. Well, it's not a hotel, the check-in for the hotel or the check-in for a flight at the airport. But the check-in, it means that you're setting, you're taking your progress, you're tracking your work, you're tracking how are you moving, how are you working towards the objectives you want to achieve. So this is normally, every one of us who would like to achieve something needs to be having a tracker. So it's very important for you, if you ever set a goal, make sure that you check it, make sure that you track it, that you are going the right way, that make sure that you are going to achieve it, because at a certain time, if you just feel out that you're not able to achieve that goal, yes, you've done right by checking it over, but it means that you've done something wrong at the very beginning. It means you've missed the start, you did not know the scope, you've set a wrong objective, you did not really respect, or you did not follow the S.M.A.R.T framework, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant and time bound. these things. So tracking your progress of even if it's a lesson, yeah, just by thinking, you don't have to take a paper and a pen to write your progress. By thinking, the way I started, the way I'm doing with a lesson, I got 60 minutes, at least I've got kind of 10 seconds to think with my head whether I'm doing well or not, and whether I'm really up to the same track of my objective or not. Later on, by the end, of course, you need to check in whether you have achieved that objective or you've achieved that goal by the end of your sequence or whatever. So it's extremely important you follow up on what you are doing. In the case that you don't do, oh, you might be reaching that and you might not be. So it's just kind of a hypothesis. To sum it up over best practices, so all of them, once you say that you've set an objective, you've reached it over, you are successful, it means that you have respected kind of a very specific title, which is you involved your people. It means that there was a real relation between the two parties which were included in the objectives. It means you and your students, kind of you collaborated indirectly together. And you've been transparent. So if you missed, then you would have corrected. And if you made something wrong, you would have gone to improve it. It's very important that a teacher really gets to be transparent, even with him or herself. And at the same time, give feedback and seek it. So most of the times, I missed when I was a teacher, particularly in the very beginning of my career. I most of the times missed to go and ask my colleagues for feedback. I missed really to ask for help. I was just thinking, okay, yes, I can do it myself. Let me give it a try. Oh, no, I don't want to ask the others. No, whenever you've got an objective written, you want to achieve something, share it with your colleagues. Share it with a teacher trainer, maybe you got in your school, a teacher formal, a teacher principal, whatever, and ask for advice. That really helps you to put a very broad, gameful objective and writing down over your objective, and it gives you another vision where people also can see. Yeah, so I really advise that these 4 things or these 4 items to be taken in consideration if you ever want to work with a SMART in action model. And I'm absolutely sure that at least they're going to help you, at least they're going to put more clarity towards our objective, towards the task you want to be accomplishing. If anyone has got a question about how to make it happen.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead. What's your name?
Yeah, I am Iman, and
I'm sorry.
I wanna
Okay,
share.
thank you.
Okay, I wanna share my experience. So, as a teacher, after being in a quarantine for several months, I decided to challenge myself. My aim was, and still is, to improve my teaching skills. For that reason, I set clear objectives through multiple measurable steps, like sharing in webinars, attending more MOOCs courses, writing, communicating, and of course, ask other skillful teachers. So that is my experience from an all, from general aim to specific objectives. That's it. Thank you.
I'm so glad to hear this. Really, thank you so much, Iman. That really gives an insight. It gives a specific feeling to the person that we do have really lots of similarities. We do have really lots of coherent context working with, particularly when it comes to being a teacher. I really, guys, advise you that most of the times you share your experience. Maybe people are going to get inspired by your ideas, by your mistakes even. Yeah, people get inspired by lots of errors and mistakes that others make so that they won't find the same trap over in lots of time. Anyone has got something else to share with us?
Hello.
Hello. Come on.
Hello.
Is that Jamal?
Bassem.
Hi, Bassem. Thank you.
Bassem from Tunisia. So I'm very happy to be a part of this great webinar. I've got some technical problems with my mic, that's why I had to talk at least at the end. Okay, so I'll just read with what you have been saying about the SMART model, and I think it's at the core of something that all teachers need to go through, which is that reflection process, where the teachers have got to go back and try to find out what they did in their daily practices in the class. So SMART is something that, or a tool that teachers need to use to measure their teaching practices and to reflect. Even before talking to other teachers, they need to go through this checklist and find whether their goals are specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, or time-based. And they are going to find solutions. But if they are stuck, then they have got the plan B, which is talking to the other teachers, to their colleagues, and I'm sure that they, yeah.
Okay, we can hear you now. Continue, please. Carry on.
Yes, I think I said that I think that the SMART is a very important tool that all teachers need to use to find out whether they are doing good in their class or not, and they are going to find out a lot of things to make better. And the plan B, I said, is to go to the others and to try to ask them and we discuss. But SMART, you can find out, you can plan your objectives, you can find out whether you attain your objectives, and you can yourself fix if there are some, let's say, errors or some objectives that you didn't attain. You can find a way, always there is a way to find, to fix that, thanks to the SMART model, which is a very important thing. People can not only use in education, but even in their own life, whether they have got any objective in their life, they can use it. Thank you.
Bassem, thank you so much for your lovely words. I absolutely agree with you. And this is the reason why in the very beginning of my presentation, if you can later on watch the recording, I've named it SMART in Action Model. It's actually it's an automatic and it's an auto-adjusted model that everyone can really refer to. It's kind of a guide. You can just go back to it and see yourself whether the objective is measurable, and you can see whatever item, whatever kind of value you would like really to fall back and see you're going right or you're going right. Yeah, it's kind of a second person who is really just said, but that person does not speak. Before we go to the end, I'm sorry we've got a little bit over the time, but yes, it's a lovely discussion at this very moment. I would like to share some tips for you. The goals are generally, or the objectives, they are very to set. They are very easy. Everyone can think of something, but they're very hard to be achieved. And this is very known. So in order to do that, in order to follow the make it happen slide exactly with details, you need to align your values. Yeah, you need to be logical. You need to have a value, of course, that you are setting goals in order to improve something for your student or for yourself. And at the same time, you need to share your goal absolutely your students or the people who are going to be kind of part of that process, that they need to be kind of existing in whatever objective you're going to do. You need even sometimes to share with them. If you're really talking about a specific objective in a lesson or in a sequence, we need to make we need to make our students aware, even though they don't understand its academic or its pedagogical meaning, but at least they would understand what they're going to achieve with you, what they're going to attain by the end of that process. And at the same time, we need to assemble yourself and everything and establish a support and system. You need to follow up, as Bassem said a while ago, that it's extremely important. You refer to that table, you refer to those items. It's kind of a tool we need to use. It's kind of a second person who does not speak, but we just refer to it in order to see whether we're going the right way or not. The guys that have prepared something for me, as you see here. We've got some non-SMART goals, and we would like to make them SMART, but we don't have the time at this very moment. So got the answer directly this way. So you, of course, when you watch the video later on, you can even take a screenshot at this very moment for this. These are some non-SMART goals within their type. What is the type for that? And Hicham and Zineb, they worked on making them smarter. So, of course, for you, if you would like to take any of the objectives here, you can make it smarter your way. You can share it on the chat later. Maybe others are going to see how you've made it. But this is actually one of the things you can really check on later. As I said, we don't have the time. We're passing over. I just would like to the participants remind them that if you are ever interested to attend our upcoming webinars, it means that we still have a very long series. Just share with us your email to the person who contacted you on Facebook, so that we can be able to be sending kind of daily or weekly newsletter about any scheduled event. For me personally, it's been an extreme big pleasure for me to have met all of you here. To have been able to listen to your experience, to have been able to listen to your lovely collections about this interesting topic. I thank you, Anna and Dingley, for having taken the time to make and join the webinar. For collaborating and coordinating with me. If anyone has got a question, feel free. Otherwise, the webinar is over.
Okay, thank you so much, Hicham. Thank you, Zineb. Thank you for all the participants from Algeria or from Tunisia or Morocco or even from other European countries. Thank you for joining us, and hope that we will see you in our upcoming webinars too.
The Czech Republic.
And from the Czech Republic. Yes, thank you, Hicham.
Don't forget me, I'm a participant.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. Basim, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much, you, Ibtisam, and Mr. Hicham and Ms. Zineb. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm eager to be part of next webinars. I had some problems with the mic. I missed so much, but at least it's late. But at least I've said something to participate in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're most welcome, and thank you for all the participants again. I hope that you will join us in our upcoming webinars. That's it. Thank you. Yeah, okay, Zineb, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to thank you all. Thank you, Ibtisam. Thank you, Hicham. And thank you all the participants for this lovely contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if you still have any questions or you need to share something, you still have the chat box and you can type there your questions or the information that you want to share. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Thank
you.
Goodbye.
Please.
I just want to say thank you for this webinar. I'm just I just want to know what is the topic of the next webinar, if it's possible.
We will share it in our next post, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thanks.
I don't know what's the name of the person speaking, but thank you for the question. Yeah, Jamal, thank you for the question, because at this very moment, I still don't know what is the topic of next webinar. Ibtisam knows, but she will share with us later on.
Yeah, thanks for your efforts. Thanks, you. Good luck. I wish you.
Absolutely. You too. Take care, guys. Have a nice day.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.